Well, welcome to this week's ATL Home and Market. I'm happy that you're joining us this week because we've got a really interesting discussion that we're going to have, which is going to be all about reality and myths. And that's always fun to explore. My name is Ira Miskin. I am broker and team leader with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty in the Miskin team. And with us again this week, of course, is Stephanie Miskin, our co-team leader, and Josh Gillette, who is our associate broker and our senior team advisor. And as I said, we're going to be really exploring marketplace myths and realities. We live in a world now where there's so much information that flows from so many different places. I mean, you turn on the TV and there's 10 cable channels that are all talking about everything going on in the news and everything that affects real estate. And you never know what is actually true or true about the local market that you live in. So that's what we're going to jump into today. And some of it is going to be very immediate because things change. And it kind of comes with an interesting little story that I'll talk about a little bit later. But a lot of it is just based on if you pay attention, things will work the way you want them to work. But before we jump in, Stephanie's give us this week's fun to do things around Metro Atlanta so that when we explore myths and realities, we know where to go and play about them. What you got, Steph?
Okay, yeah, I got a lot of stuff because a lot of stuff is going on. Now, we're coming to the end of October, and we have next weekend, not this weekend, next weekend is going to be Halloween. So a lot of these things that I'm going to be telling you about are not only, they're going on now, and they're also going to go on next weekend, all right? So just keep that in mind. For example, the first one that I'm going to tell you about, which is the Stone Mountain Pumpkin Festival, and then the glow in the dark, in the evening. That's going to be going on now all the way through November the 2nd. And that again is in Stone Mountain. We have Boo at the Zoo, which runs Saturday and Sundays. Costumes encouraged, pictures guaranteed. So take your little goblins over to the Atlanta Zoo and check that out. That's going on now through the end of the week. Another for thrill seekers who like to be scared, Netherworld Haunted House and Six Flags Fright Fest. Now, that's pretty scary stuff. So I don't know if you want to bring little kids there, but if you like that scary stuff, check it out. Again, it'll be going on till after Halloween. And then one of the things that I just discovered, which is pretty cool. It's spooky and it's history involved, and it is at the Oak Lawn Cemetery, and it is capturing the spirit of Oak Lawn, and that is a night tour of the cemetery in Atlanta. Very old cemetery, very well-known, famous cemetery. If you want to go to stuff in the suburbs, we have Woodstock, which is doing a downtown trick or treat Friday early evenings. And Lawrenceville is also doing Boo Fest on the lawn. Bring the kids, bring a blanket. So that's going on. Now, also what's going on is Dias de los Muertos Festival, which is the Day of the Dead. Now that's going to happen November the 1st and the 2nd. It's going to be many, many places around Atlanta, but the one place I wanted to tell you about was Woodstock. Woodstock's going to have a big celebration the 1st and the 2nd with authentic Mexican food, vendors, salsa dancing, salsa making, and they encourage to bring a picture of someone who has passed and who you want to bring into the celebration of the Day of the Dead. So that is going to be going on downtown Woodstock, November the 1st and the 2nd. And also coming up November the 1st all the way through the December the 6th. And I didn't realize that they do this at this time of the year, but there's going to be Fall into the Magic. It is another Renaissance festival. I didn't know they did one in the fall, but they do. And it's in Fairburn, and it is only on Saturdays. And again, that's going to start November the 1st all the way through December the 6th, and that's like, stepping back into King Arthur time, grabbing a turkey leg. It's a lot of fun. If you've never been to a Renaissance festival, I think the fall would be a great time to go because you're outside, and sometimes in the summertime they're very hot and crowded. So I think it would be a great time to go to enjoy a Renaissance festival. So lots of things going on, and that's what I got for you this week.
All right. Let's see. Mexican food, Woodstock. Okay. Everybody else can go have a good time. I'm going to go eat Mexican food in Woodstock. Don't get any better than that. So here's a saying that we sometimes say about folks that we know, but is very true about the real estate market, particularly in these times, which is wait 5 minutes and things will change. Yet, even though there's a great deal of change that goes on and continuously goes on, and a lot of it is impacted by local needs, but a lot of it is impacted by just what happens in the world. Right now the government is shut down. The brilliant people that we elect to actually do good things for us in Congress can't figure out how to agree on keeping the government open. And so a great many people are not getting paid. A great number of programs can't be run because of the government being closed. And to the extent that it affects the housing market and affects lives all throughout the community, those things are very important. Slows everything down. But the minute everybody goes back to work, everybody reaches a sigh of relief, everything that didn't get done is going to all of a sudden all get done at once. So wait 5 minutes and things will change. But there's a big picture about the marketplace and things that are just consistent even with change. And I think, Josh, you know that because you've experienced that. Things that deal with mortgage rates and things that deal with pricing and things that deal with availability. So mix it up a little bit and talk about some of those things and give folks an idea of what we know is always there, even though a lot of times things affect how they may become.
Well, I think, one thing, that people are always asking about are interest rates, and the interest rates are hovering in the low to mid sixes, which is really a normal interest rate traditionally. If you can get a rate in the low to mid sixes, that's a good rate. And it has always been. Translation of that means that the payments are a little bit friendlier than the summer. Inventory across the metro has risen versus last year, so there is more inventory this year. It's closer to a more balanced market, but the days on market are longer than they were a couple of years ago. So that changes the strategy a little bit when you're actually trying to purchase a home.
I know that one thing that really helps with is negotiations. Homes that stay on the market for a little bit longer, sometimes you can negotiate a little bit more. When you don't have the situation where, and it's all kind of zip code dependent and area dependent, but if the home's on the market for a little bit longer, you can negotiate a little bit harder, and you can just request a little bit more.
Right.
So,
absolutely.
So even though things may be a story, oh my goodness, interest rates are up. Oh my goodness, interest rates are down. Oh my goodness, this. Oh my goodness, that. Because Metro Atlanta is a very large area, things can really be very different from community to community, can't they, Josh?
Very much, very much. So there are some places that are still stuck in 2 or 3 years ago where multiple offers driving the price up, and there's some places you really have to market the home correctly. You have to do, really pull out all the stops to make sure that when you get the buyer into the house, they love the house. And I have little side stories, little basic things that people can do, but really for those markets where this market, when you're in the right areas or the areas, you really have to market correctly and treat the buyer correctly. Let me just say it that way. You really have to treat the buyer correctly.
Yeah, so home sellers think, that they're the most important entity in this transaction. And the truth is, they're not. They have something to sell and they need somebody who wants to buy it.
Well, I'll explain. So one thing that happened a few times, actually, is say the seller has already moved out of the house. Say they no longer live there. They've already moved out of the house, and they do not want to pay for the utilities of the house they're in the process of selling. So it's mid-July, burning hot. It's burning hot. Everyone's sweating. It's 95 plus degrees, and they refuse to turn the AC on. And and the thing is, I don't care how good the house is. It really doesn't matter. If they get into the house and the first thing they think about is how hot it is inside, more so, at least you get a breeze outside. It's even hotter inside. You imagine how quickly the people leave the house. I don't care if it's a great house.
Yeah, they don't even want to look at the house. They just want out.
Sometimes they just want AC. And while they're sitting down enjoying the AC, they realize, hey, those cabinets, I love those cabinets. Hey, they really did a good job on those floors.
Just cooling off.
Yeah, just cooling off.
It's true.
Right. Well, see, those kind of silly things. It's save a penny to lose a dollar.
Right.
Is really what it comes down to. And that's, that's part of exploring the truth of reality of all the things people can think of, including, this house, the air conditioning is probably broken.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't want to spend $10,000 to fix the air conditioning. And
same thing, window units. Units, same thing. So you can have a window unit, even though it happens a lot, especially with empty nesters. You have a 5-bedroom house and they live in 2 rooms, a total of, the kitchen and the bedroom. So they'll have a window unit not to heat the entire house. And that's fully understandable. I've not found a hole in that train of thought. But when you're selling the home, their concern is now the AC doesn't work. You're putting that because the AC doesn't work. You're putting it there just because the AC doesn't work. And so the conversation of removing it, having that removed for $50 right before people show up, now it's suddenly become replace the entire HVAC system.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
So let's take a look at 4, 5, 6 of the so-called myths, and let's explore them and let's see what comes of it. So let's say myth number 1: everything is stuck in place. Nothing is selling.
Yeah, well, that's just not true. The reality of it is homes are still selling, but they're not selling at warp speed. It is not the market where you put you put a house on the market and in 3 days you have 5 offers. That's not the market that we in. Buyers are choosier. The house must be in good condition. It must be well priced. You got to have good marketing. Those are the houses that are moving. If the listing is stale and it is mispriced and the house is not, like Josh said, up to snuff, meaning, as a buyer would see it through a buyer's eye.
As a buyer would see it.
Buyer would see it. Those are the houses that aren't moving, that are taking longer to sell.
Right.
So in situations like that, I know what we've been doing is, finding ways to pull them in through other facets, through different marketing programs, through, there's ways to offer concessions in a way that brings more buyers in. Rate buy downs, closing costs, and there's ways to negotiate for all of it to make sense for both the buyer and the seller. It's not such a hard hit for the seller if we can negotiate it correctly.
Yeah, it should be a win-win for both sides. I mean, that's what we strive for.
Mm-hmm.
See, and again, because over the last several years, we've been experiencing things that are not what a normal market is. And normal markets tend to run 7 to 10 to 12 years in a row before something happens that influences it and makes the market change. And eventually it drifts back into a normal market. So houses selling in one day for 110% of sale price, that's pretty much over. Houses selling in 20 to 60 days, shorter in some communities, longer in other communities, that's a much more normal market. 3 to 4 months typically was what the turnaround was for buying and selling houses. And it's because buyers don't have to move as quickly, right?
They don't.
And because they now have more choices, they can take their time. What do you look for when you're looking for a house that's going to be particular for a buyer's needs, but also you think is going to have some flexibility in selling? What do you look for when you're working with a buyer?
I love looking for expired listings. I love looking for off-market properties. Yes, we do look at all real estate from all real estate brokers and all real estate, for sub owners, foreclosures, fix and flip, everything available. We look at everything, short sales included. But I love a home that's been on the market for a long period of time, and for some reason it didn't sell. And if the reason it didn't sell is because, hey, no matter what you said or what the previous agent said, they refused to turn the AC on in mid-July heat, and every buyer left, doesn't mean it's not a great home. It's just, okay, I'm going to have to talk to my buyer and understand, convince them to show up to the home, 30 minutes early to make sure the AC is on, so my buyer can walk through the home and experience the home where other people would just kind of go by their way. Because it just means that once that one contract that on a house that's been sitting on the market for 60, 70, 80, 90 days or more, you have a lot more negotiating power, because all it takes is one price reduction, and the thing you're asking for is they've already agreed to. So I look for homes to have been on the market for a long time. Cosmetic, as long as it matches appraisal value or appraisal guidelines, so whether it's FHA, conventional, or VA, that's one thing I always recommend. That one of the reasons I always recommend having an agent, an agent who knows these things, an experienced agent. And I have plenty of stories about that. But knowing what cosmetic issues will stop the loan in its place and what appraisal issues can be solved very easily, and being able to move forward on the ones that can be solved very easily, making it a bigger problem for the seller, and getting additional money because of it. Because at one point, it's not the buyer's just requesting that money. The buyer just wants that money. No, you're not going to get your $250,000 or $350,000 if you don't fix these $2,000 repairs, which we probably can fix for $50, but that's not the point. So there's some ways to look for, good deals out there.
So now you're in the hunt for a house, and the seller is putting that house out there for sale, and the houses are not selling in a day. There's still houses that sell in a week, but there are plenty of houses that 2 years ago would have sold in a week, and now it's taking longer. And so therefore, because of that, prices must be crashing, except they're not.
It all depends on, it really just depends on where you are. Right. It really depends on where you are. And I think one of the struggles is that, I like to say, I hope I don't look it, but I've been in real estate for 16 years. full time 16 years. And the gray hair just keeps showing up, and it looks, I don't know. Anyway, um, what happens is you see the cycles enough times to recognize the pattern. So when someone turns their eyes to real estate for 2 months out of their entire life, they're going to buy that one house and live there forever, or they buy that two houses their entire life. They don't see the pattern. It's just a pattern. 2006, the high of the market, there was a crash. Things went high, things went low, and then everything shot up way past where 2006 was, which was the high of the market at the time. But someone who just now got to the point where, okay, we have a family now. We need to move from the apartment. We need to finally buy that house. They don't see that pattern, so all they hear is the news. So no, prices are crashing. The prices are not crashing. It really just depends on the area. And a lot of areas are supported in different ways. So if you're buying a home, in a really, really strong school district, the school district is what holds the prices up. It's not the value, not the homes. That's how the great value of the homes is the school district. There are certain places where the businesses, the corporations, the jobs hold the area up. So you have to kind of really look at all the factors, but it's not across the board. Prices are not crashing across the board, no matter what the news says.
So take that and couple with myth number 3. Rates have dipped. So therefore, because buyers have more power, there's more buyers competing for houses. And so there's competition everywhere to buy that house. Is that what you see, Stephanie?
No, not really. I mean, lower prices are going to expand the budget a bit, and it's going to bring some buyers back that might not have been in the market a while ago, but demand is gradual. It's not a stampede today. Today's buyers, they want value, they want clean, they want clean inspections, they want fair pricing, and clarity on monthly payments. So it is not going to be a bidding war just because their interest rates are a little bit lower. Like I said, might bring a few more people back, but it's not going to create a stampede.
So I know we all have conversations with clients all the time. And one thing I always ask the clients when they say, I'm waiting for interest rates to drop, is, what are you waiting for the interest rate to drop to? Like, at what point where are you waiting for the interest rate to drop to? And what you find, talking to the hundreds and hundreds and maybe thousands of people I've spoken with, is they don't have a number. Number one, they have no idea. They just want. It's really when the news says these are great interest rates. It's when they say, okay, these interest rates are good. Number two is, even if the interest rates drop, they're not ready to do anything 9 times out of 10. All the people that are active, they're ready to go right now, are the ones that actually can make a move if interest rates were to go lower. And as I've said 1,000 times, I will continue saying it, is the best time to buy a house, the best time to get into a house is right now. Because if you had bought 10 years ago, what would you be now?
Right.
Where would you be?
And that old saying, it's what is it? Buy the house and date the rate.
Right.
You can always refinance. So in the meantime, you're paying your landlord's mortgage, and you're not building, equity. So if you could just get people to understand that a rate drop of 0.5% is not going to mean that much. In the meantime, if you hold out, you keep paying your landlord's rent. So, it's crazy. If you are ready to go and you're waiting on a rate, it's really the wrong thing to do.
Now, sometimes people are shopping, and they see houses that really feel like that's exactly what I want, but typically it's more expensive than they can afford because the monthly expense of the house is higher than they can pay. But there are things that can be done with loans, and in looking at how to manage those rates so that you can actually buy a bit more expensive house and not necessarily raise the monthly expense on the purchase of that house. There are a couple of programs like that. Forget a couple of examples, Josh.
Yeah, so like 2-1 buy downs, 3-1 buy downs. There's even ARMs. So the way the buy downs work is that there's a set interest rate. It's definitely going to be lower. Say, let's just make up numbers. The first year, the interest rate is 4%. The second year is 5%. And the third year through the 30th year, it may end up at being 5.75 or 6% interest. And it goes, at length for 30 years. At any point in time, during that time, you can refinance. So if interest rates suddenly get lower, you can always refinance. But it allows you to get to the house, get more comfortable, get used to the property, get used to paying the mortgage before you immediately have to, put forward the higher interest rate. Which, again, if the concern is interest rates are going to go down before you make a move, you can always refinance again. During the 30 years, you can refinance to a lower interest rate. There's also ways of just doing an interest rate buy down. So if your goal is just to bring the interest rate a little bit down, it's called buying discount points, paying down points. You can pay down points and just get a lower interest rate for the flat 30 years. In very few scenarios, I recommend it. I don't recommend it for everyone. I really would have to speak with someone and kind of make sure they understand how the program works and how it works. But you also can do it in an ARM, adjustable rate mortgage. So I like to think about it for people that they know for an absolute fact they're moving in 2 years. They already have the contract. The corporation's moving them. There's no issues. There's not going to be any chance outside of something horrific happening. They're going to move. And ARM is not a bad idea. Where your interest rate is substantially lower. You may 3.5%, 3%, 3.75%. In that range, and it can adjust depending on the market. So there's a lot of different ways to get the monthly lower.
Right. There's also the idea that you might have a family member can gift you some money for your down payment.
Yeah.
If your down payment is higher, your monthly is going to be lower. So, that's another option for people that, first time home buyers, and maybe, they're a young couple and their parents are going to give them some money. That's another way.
And it's weird. I'm glad you brought that up because it's weird. I have a conversation with a lot of people that say they want to put more down. And in order to put more down, they have an amorphous idea of how much they want to put down, sometimes 30 and 40%. And they're trying to save 30 and 40% so they can have a lower monthly payment.
Mm-hmm.
But as we all know, most of the people I know don't save 30 and 40% before they can buy a house.
Correct. Not today.
Not today.
Yeah.
Not this
today.
month. So what you can do is the way to get the lowest monthly payment outside of just pretty much paying your principal yourself, is putting down 20%. So if you put down 20%, that removes PMI, or of course, if you're VA, military, you have a VA loan where your PMI is removed, your MIP. But that's the quickest way to get the lowest monthly payment out the gate if you had to get the lowest monthly payment no matter what.
Right.
And
part of that could be a gift.
You definitely 100%.
Right.
And you still have down payment assistance. If you don't have the 20%, there's still down payment assistance, because the best thing you do is get into the home. Get into the home first.
Right.
You can figure out the interest rates and things like that after. Get into the house at a price that you can afford, that hits your needs, and then as many wants as possible. Needs come first, wants come second. And get there and get settled. The second, third, fourth house is going to be the dream house. But you have to get into the first house first. Take care of the family first.
So there's two things in there. One is to use how you finance the house as a way of being able to afford the amount of home that you want to buy by shaping the kind of loan that you take in order to keep your costs at a certain level, or have your costs grow because you've done some kind of, buy down, 2-1, 3-1, 4-1 buy down. But if you're young and you're buying your first home, and you know that over time your income is going to grow, your income growth is going to match the cost growth, and the cost growth is not going to be so substantial that it's going to be killer and you're going to get tossed out of your home. And so if you really think through what the plan should look like for today to buy the home, and what 3 years from now should it look like financially, and what are the best group of prospects and the group of loans that I want to explore. That helps you then to know which house at what price and what your monthly expenses are going to be, and that in almost every case and in almost every market, with very, very rare exceptions, once or twice in the last century, home prices are going to remain stable or grow. So therefore, you're going to have more money when you sell the home than you had in the house when you bought the home. And the overall value of your investment is going to continue to increase. So leveraging those rates is something that, as Josh and Stephanie described, when you're working with your real estate professional that's guiding you and your loan professional that's guiding you, you have a chance to really lay out and look at all the pieces so that regardless of what the marketplace is like, wait 5 minutes and things will change. You're going to work as a consistent through line in whatever the marketplace is because you know you have a plan. And that's what the really important thing is. So let's explore myth number 4, that it has become a buyer's market across the board. Sellers are out, buyers are in. Is that true?
No,
No.
just end all short of it. No, it just depends on where you are. It depends on what house you're looking at, the location, what the amenities are, the schools, the price. I mean, there's a lot of different things, variables that determine whether or not it's a buyer's market in that neighborhood or not.
Right. I mean, we're not seeing multiple offers very often. Every once in a while, we'll see a multiple offer, but not that. It's not like it used to be, where you knew, like, was it not that long ago, we put in offers and there'd be 15 offers on a house. We're not in that situation. And at that time, it didn't matter what area of Metro Atlanta you lived in. It was like that. It is not like that right now. New construction, what's going on there, that's relatively the same. Is they're not going to negotiate the price with you ever. They never really negotiated price because they want to keep their appraisal value of the subdivision that they're developing up. But what they will do is they will give you stuff, upgrades, right? So you can negotiate. If you have a good realtor working with you, you can negotiate upgrades. But they're not going to change the prices because they want to hold the value of the subdivision.
So there's both a bit more leverage for the buyers because there's more inventory,
right?
Because people are moving more slowly, and so when you have choice, you can take a little bit more time. But on the other hand, if a house is well presented and it's priced correctly for the marketplace, the buyer is going to have to decide, am I going to pay full price? Am I going, because I really want, it's the right zip code, it's the right neighborhood, it's the right school district, it's 5 minutes from my job.
Yeah, well, that's where working with a professional realtor who's going to guide you is going to come in, because most buyers are going to go in and they're going to be like, well, I want to offer less for the house. That's just like human nature. But it's the realtor's job to say, look, we're running comps, really, really tight comps on this house. And this house is either priced correctly, right? So if you want this house, you've got to go in. Here's the criteria. Here's the parameters that you've got to put this offer in, right? Because if you go lower, you're not going to get it because the comps are saying this. Or if the house is, needs work, maybe you can go a little lower, but you need to work with a realtor. It can't just be, well, I only want to pay this much for that house, because you probably won't get the house.
It's a common playbook. I don't know whether every buyer reads that playbook, but it's a common just thing that just everyone says, no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I think it's just, kind of human nature. Like, well, how cheap can we get the house?
Well, they had a $50,000 price reduction yesterday, so maybe they can shave off about 30. It's like, come on,
I know.
there's some things, we'll have a conversation, we'll figure it out, but all things in respect. You have to look at the comps. You have to really make a determination on how quickly the homes are selling. And then if you have knowledge and, I know I get the information for my clients, why are the people selling in the first place?
Absolutely.
Like,
Yeah.
look at liens. See if they have any liens on the property. See if there's any, second or third mortgages. See if there's dealing with a client today, literally today, where set up the right contract. I'm doing reviewing everything, and to find out that the half of not the house itself, but half of the lot is in a flood zone.
Oy.
That would have been nice to know. That would have been nice for someone to volunteer.
That would have been nice to know. Yeah, that should have been on the disclosure, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not the property itself, but these are things that have to be addressed and learned about and found out, and that affects the offer. That really affects the offer.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then there are things that are particular to a home. There are elements that are particular to a community. And there are elements that are particular to a zip code.
Mm-hmm.
And you really have to investigate the zip code that you want to move into to know and understand how home prices are being managed. Are they up? Are they down? Are they fluctuating? And remember that in just about every zip code, there are houses in different price categories from low to high. And not every house fits what your expectations are. And there's a sweet spot in the zip code where the higher percentage of homes exist, and they sell more quickly, and they sell for higher prices because those homes in those price ranges that a higher number of people can afford, in communities that a higher number of people find desirable, are going to sell more quickly, and they're going to sell for more money. So you really want to, when you're thinking about, I think I'd like to live in Lawrenceville versus I think I'd like to live in McDonough. They're both really nice suburban communities, and they both have a full range of types of homes and prices of homes. Yet there's a fairly good disparity in terms of actual price of a house in Lawrenceville versus a house in McDonough. And it's because Lawrenceville is in a particular location where a lot more people shop because it's closer to things and is more suburban.
And more businesses. There's a lot more businesses. There's a lot of businesses that are specific to that part of Gwinnett County.
Right.
That McDonough doesn't necessarily offer. Not saying that's their field, that's what they're going into, but more, there's a lot of times higher paying jobs out there. A lot of times.
And McDonough being south, and the south section of Metro Atlanta is now much more fully being developed. The north sections and the central sections got developed first just because of highway proximity. The south sections of Metro Atlanta, if you look out over the next 5, 10, 20 years, they're going to look and feel and cost very much like what happened in the first communities that got developed. There's more new construction going on down there. There's a lot more thought and work going into raising the value of the schools. And frankly, there are areas and communities down there where you can buy a pretty big house on a pretty big lot versus come up to some of the other communities. I mean, move into Metro Atlanta and you get a little teeny house on an even teenier lot
with
at 3
higher
times the
taxes.
price.
And a whole lot of more property taxes.
Yeah, higher
No, no
taxes.
property.
And I was going to say something too. Like I believe that the South, like McDonough and some of those towns down there, are not as densely populated as Lawrenceville. So there are just fewer people down there than there are in some of the northern towns.
And I spent most of my lifetime South Georgia, at McDonough, Stockbridge, the Jonesboroughs, the Griffins.
Right.
And it's just a fact. It's just not as populated. It's really not.
Populated.
It's
Right.
there's a lot more land,
Right.
So there's pros and cons and give and take with what part of Atlanta that you're living in, but the South Side is coming up just as fast as the North Side did. There, you get there, get settled before it gets there.
Right.
Yep. So you really want to know and understand what's going on in a zip code. And if you want to get a zip code report from us, and you can then analyze your wish list inside the zip code, all you need to do is just put a comment in the comments on this YouTube video once it's done, and let us know that you want it, and we will get you, based on the goals and needs that you have, a pretty good analysis of what's happening, for price and homes and home styles and all those sort of things in the zip code that you're interested in. Get a nice little zip code report. But let's take a look at myth number 5. This is one of my favorites.
7. It's number 7. Aren't we on number 7?
Well, it's myth number 5. It's segment number 6.
Okay.
Pay attention to that.
Gotcha.
And that is very often, more so because of the outcome of houses selling like hotcakes, because there weren't very many of them for about 2 years, particularly when interest rates were still hovering in the 2.5% to 3.5% rate. The mindset hasn't changed with the shift in the marketplace. And so if you just approach it as, I want $1 million for my $500,000 house, and then it doesn't sell, well, what do you think the problem is? You wanted more money than the marketplace can or will give you. So you therefore need to have, in addition to a really good preparation plan for the home and marketing plan for getting that house out there, getting the word out to the buyer community, you also have to have a very good pricing plan. But 2 things happen. I won't lower the price because someone, if they like the house, they'll just make an offer. Well, you can talk to that in a minute because we know what that's about. Or house hasn't sold, it's been on the market a week. And this happens more with the agent than it does with the seller. The agent gets nervous because they don't understand that the market pace has slowed, and you have to give some time to see how the marketplace reacts to the house and the price. But you need a marketing plan, and you need a pricing plan to know when and how to use price as the leverage to get people to come to see your home. But the big myth these days is, hasn't sold in a week, let's drop the price. What's that like, Josh?
Most sellers they're more likely to, as long as you have the plan, it's planned out, them thinking that the price drops are a deterrent. Well, it's really a way to pull people in. As long as everything is planned out, a lot of the issues in real estate, I think in most life, is really based on poor communication. Not having a full, clear, and concise plan of what the steps are involved. Why are you doing that step? And what are the possible outcomes if you do that step? So really, for a buyer, having access to more homes, and then the home being staying on the market, there's ways to kind of pull people in that may not have anything to do with price. There are some things that are basic. I've had situations where, especially nowadays with the Giro spiders, where we just go through and knock all the spider webs down because sometimes people are just scared to come in. But a lot of times with those people that did go in, it was never about price. So as long as everything is communicated, everything is ready, everything is staged correctly, you know, everything is prepared, buyers will move in. Buyers will buy the house in a heartbeat. And it's not always a 5-minute game. Sometimes it does take a little bit longer. But you're looking for one buyer. You're not looking for 50. You're looking for the one buyer who can see the value in this home.
Yeah, and I think we need to, I mean, we do this. We explain to sellers that we have a plan, don't expect your house really, don't expect your house to be under contract in 7 days. And if it doesn't, there's week 1, week 2, week 3 of things that we can do. Week 1, if we don't have any activity, well, then we're going to make sure all the marketing is correct. We're going to make sure that it's in the correct school district in the FMLS listing, that an error wasn't created when it was put into the FMLS system, that it's in the right school district, that the correct pictures are there, and make sure that the marketing is all in place. And then if we still don't get any activity week 2, we might have to do some other stuff. We might have to add, say, for example, everybody that goes in there, we're getting feedback and nobody likes the color of the paint. Okay, so let's offer, a repair credit. Seller is willing to offer X amount of money to repaint the house. Okay, so maybe that's going to generate some activity. And then there's, the third week, we might have to address, if we don't have anything and we're hearing, well, it's nice, but we think it's a little overpriced and we can't, nobody's putting in an offer. We might have to then again look at the comps and look at a price reduction. So we explain all of this stuff to the seller, so it is not a surprise. But right out the gate, it's not the first thing that we do, which is, if it doesn't sell in 7 days, it's overpriced. That's not necessarily what the issue is.
And that's why we follow a lot. We follow up a lot with anyone seeing the home. We get a lot of feedback. We get as much feedback about the home as humanly possible, because we need to know, is every buyer that walks in the home complaining about the price?
Right.
And even then, it still may not be the price. It may be they don't see the value because they see that repair that should have been done before the home was really listed, but the seller was rushing and didn't do that repair. They don't equate the value with the house, and if you make that minor repair, that easy repair, that AC in the window,
right?
They suddenly think the home's worth whatever the price is minus $10,000.
Paint color, people can't get over paint color. I mean, I know we have a house that's got pink walls. And nobody likes pink walls. Well, a couple of gallons of paint and it'll be great.
And the thing is, if you like pink, that's okay. If you love pink and that's your house, you love that house, and you want the pinkest walls, go for it. Right. I love it. Right. I see pink back there. But the thing is when you're ready to sell the house, it's not about you anymore. No,
the walls should be gray by the time that house goes on the market. Those walls should be neutralized. Absolutely. But sometimes sellers don't want to do it. And it's ridiculous. They're like, what's that expression? They're cutting off their nose to spite the face. Yeah. Right. And it's like, well.
It's because I really feel it's because of emotion.
Yeah, absolutely. Emotion. Absolutely.
And there are times where I've had to be direct. And I want, we probably just said a different podcast for this. But there are times where you just have to be direct and you have to say, so you're saying that you're going to walk away from $312,000 because they want a $400 repair that you can pay at closing. You don't have to pull out of your pocket right now.
Right.
Like, they can pay at closing.
Right.
But you can pay at closing. And for them to say, after you put it in that perspective, it's like, okay, $312,000 kind of wins. It just wins. That's a real conversation I've had.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I just don't like the number 400. It's like, all right, give them $399. I'll kick in the last dollar. Like, come on, let's just get this done. Real
Yeah.
emotions.
We had that conversation with a client who was a home seller, and it was a wonderful home. Great community with top schools, and there were multiple offers on the house. And the offer that we were negotiating, um, the buyer wanted something. I don't remember precisely what it was, but there was like a $2,000 difference between buyer and seller, and the seller was digging their heels in. They don't want to pay it, and so we did the math and said, guess what? That $2,000 is 0.2% of the dollars that you're going to receive if you close the deal. So you're going to say no for 0.2%. And when they realized that that was the math, that the $2,000 against the $600,000 sale was peanuts, they said, okay. And that was it. The deal was done.
Yeah.
So there's a level of practicality that has to be brought into all of this, because very often, despite better judgment, buyers and sellers are huffing and puffing because it's an emotional experience. And the practicality of all of this is something that we have to bring to the table to help everybody to go ahead and do it. And that cat is our newest, is our newest team
Addition.
member.
Oh, she should stay. She's a part of
She's
it.
additions. Yes.
Yes. When in
She
doubt,
wanted
get a cat.
Yeah.
She wanted to say hello to everyone.
Yeah. So the bottom line is that at the end of the day, buyers and sellers in this fluctuating market, where things are becoming more and more and more localized, where even communities within a zip code can have bearing on what you're going to pay or what you're going to earn if you buy or sell a home. All of these different things, you cannot live in the myth of things are what you think they are without being able to do the homework necessary and really gauge what the truth of the marketplace is and what the truth of what people are thinking at any given time, which changes. So myth and reality has to be brought together so that buyers can get the homes that they want at the price they need, at the cost that they can work with, and sellers can get their homes sold at the price that they need so that they can then move to their next step and understand that if you wait 5 minutes, the marketplace will change.
Mhm.
And so the person with a plan always wins. So, lightning round. Just a quick little bits on some sort of smaller specific pieces in the marketplace. Jump in. New construction. It's always cheaper, and it's always better than a resale.
Not true.
Not true.
Not true.
Yeah.
It's just not true.
Benefit of a resale. Benefit of a resale is, first off, those same upgrades a lot of times have already been factored into the price. New construction, especially if you're building from the ground up, meaning that you found the lot or the lot's there, you never know really what you're going to get until the home is built. Read the contract. If you read every single one of the builder contracts, there's a line in there that says, if things change, if there's a reason why they need to make a room smaller, if they need to change the layout of the layout or the floor plan in order to make the deal happen, in order to make the build work, they have full license to do so. The buyer cannot stop them the buyer will still buy the house if they make these changes, but they'll make these changes due to elevations, due to things you can't necessarily control. Giant pieces of granite in the ground, or things like that. So the good thing about resale is you know exactly what you're getting, the exact condition. And I like to think about it. People don't like them like I do for some reason. I guess because they think of like their grandma or their grandmom's grandma. Those 1950 brick ranches, those 1950, 1940 brick ranches. There's a reason why they've been through hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, caught on fire 2 or 3 times, and they're still here.
Yeah, that's
There's
true.
a reason, you
That's
know?
right. That's true.
So
because they were built well. So you
Yes.
got the insides and you put some new insides. Okay,
exactly.
here's one. Fall is a terrible time to buy a house.
It's not a bad idea. It's not
No.
it's not bad. I'm sorry. I will answer every single one of these.
No, I
It's
mean,
just
fall is not a bad. The best time to buy a house is when you need to buy a house. The best time to list a house is when you need to sell a house. There is no real seasonality to real estate. There will always be buyers and sellers in every single season. And fall, actually, in Atlanta, is a great time to buy or sell a house. You're not dying of the heat looking at a whole bunch of houses. And it's pleasant. You're seeing, what all the you're seeing a lot of too. One thing too, I people don't think about this, but as the leaves start to come off the trees, you can really see what's going on around your house. Because if you look at a house in the summertime and all the leaves are on the trees and it's very dense and lush, you don't know what's going on behind the house. So there's, definite advantages to fall that you're not going to have in summer. But the best time to buy or sell is when you got to do it. That's what I think.
Yeah.
You got anything you want to add, Josh?
Well, I mean, really, there's not much to add. I can tell you there are some people that only can buy homes during the summer months. There are some people that only can buy homes, but the good thing about that is the people that are looking at homes and showing homes and walking through homes on Christmas Eve,
They got to buy.
they're not there for the fun of it.
No,
That's
they're
not
not.
their.
They're not looky-loos.
No,
Definitely not. No.
they're
This
serious.
is,
They want to be done with this. They want it like
gosh, she's bad.
they want their cat walking across the desk. They don't want. They're ready. So
Yes, that's what I tell the people, the sellers, or buyers. This is if you're going to buy during the holiday season, you are serious.
Mhm.
You're not messing around. And I've closed houses on Thanksgiving Eve. I mean, not closed them, but written contracts and got them negotiated on Thanksgiving Eve. So yeah.
And on the buy side, a lot of times buyers don't want to walk around. So no seller wants their people walk around their Christmas gifts. So if
Mhm.
someone's selling their house, they're serious too.
Right.
They want to move.
Everybody wants to have Christmas dinner in their new place.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there you go. So, okay. So, again, everything changes by the marketplace shifts, price shifts, weather changes, economic changes. There are so many things that are outside of your control that cause the marketplace to change. As Stephanie and Josh have both said, the best time to buy and sell a home is when you need to buy and sell a home. But if you need to buy and sell a home, or you want to buy and sell a home, have a plan.
Absolutely.
The person with the plan always wins. And that's probably one of the most important things to get out of this is that, yes, things will change, but when you have a plan, change is part of that plan and you can cope with it and you're not surprised by what that change is. So let me make some offers to you. If you do want to get a zip code analysis, just either put your comments in and say, hey, send me that analysis, or call or text us and let us know, and we'll get that to you as well. And if you'd like to have what we call our fall play plan, which is if you're thinking about shopping or selling and you're coming into the fall months and you want to know and understand what the pluses are and how to use the season as the best way to gain leverage to be able to achieve your particular goals, we can help you with that too. Just ask us for our fall play plan. And then there's lots of different things that we can talk to you about or help you with when it comes to dealing with loans, buy down plans, all those sorts of things, and get you in touch with some of our key loan officers who really can educate you. You don't have to do anything the day that you talk to them, but once you have the information, that helps you to create the plan that you want. So wait 5 minutes and things will change, but the person with the plan always wins. And then we every week always have a plan for having a good time, getting out there and getting some great food and having some fun. Steph, give us a fast recap of the cool things that people can do in the next week and in the next 3-4 weeks.
All righty. Well, go on down to Fairburn. That's on the south side, like we were talking about, and go to the Renaissance Festival and have a turkey leg and do that on Saturday because that's the only day they're open. And then on November the 1st and the 2nd, go to the Day of the Dead Festival. Like I said, there's a lot of them all around Atlanta. The one that I was talking about was in Woodstock. Check it out. Great food, great music. Honor somebody you know who has passed. Bring a picture. So that is November the 1st and the 2nd. All of the Halloween stuff, from the scary stuff like Netherworld and Six Flags Over Georgia, to the fun stuff for the kids like the Pumpkin Festival and Boo at the Zoo. Take part of that. Check out the Oakland Cemetery, which is a beautiful old cemetery in Atlanta. And if you're into going and being scared, go there at night and have a tour there at night. So those are the things that I have for you. Lots of stuff. If you do any of this stuff, take a picture, send it to us. We'd love to post it. And just, this is a fun time of year for the kids and everybody. So get out there and enjoy it.
Absolutely. Josh, any final thoughts?
Nothing really. It's more just, if you're going to do something, it's always best to be proactive. So one thing that we like to do, and I always tell everyone, is we're not just about buying or selling a home. It's really about making a plan and making sure that by the time you're in that plan, you can do whatever you're hoping to do, whether it's buying a home, selling a home, turning that property into a rental, whatever, or fixing and flipping, whatever it may be. Let's help we'll create a plan so that we know what the outcome will be.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So we want to thank you again for joining us this week on ATL Home and Market. We appreciate when you come and you listen in. And we want you to know that, again, if any of the things that we talked about this week or any of the weeks that we're on and we're having a nice real estate chat, you want to learn more, know more, take an action, call us, text us, put some comments in the comments and let us know what your thoughts are and what you need. And we will be happy to get that information to you and just help you to think through and take next steps in whatever is going to work for you in using real estate as something that has great benefit to you. So for me, Ira Miskin, and for Stephanie and for Josh, I want to thank you for joining us again this week. We look forward to talking with you again next week. And have a great week from all of us at ATL Home and Market.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.